Hello, this is Zahirul Alam. Welcome you all on Frankly Speaking. My guest today is Dr. Purnima Doris Chattopadhyay Datto, Principal Advisor, GIZ, and Team Leader of Coastal Livelihoods Adaptation Project, CLAP. GIZ is a German government-owned non-profit enterprise which is supporting sustainable development. Prior joining GIZ in Dhaka, Purnima Chattopadhyay worked as Country Director, Bangladesh for Christian Aid UK in Dhaka. In 2009. She was also the country director of Plan International in Islamabad, Pakistan, which was responsible for management of country operation from 2001 to 2005. The viewers, we all know that Bangladesh is a vulnerable country in terms of climate change, and Germany is putting importance on Bangladesh's opinion in the wake of the coming climate summit, COP, which is known as COP21, to be held in Paris in December this year. So we welcome Dr. Purnima Doris Chattopadhyay Dutt on Frankly Speaking. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome, Dr. Purnima Chattopadhyay Datto. We all know that Bangladesh is one of the countries most vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, and the global warming has increased the frequency of extreme weather events in many forms and manifestations. So, as a GIZ Principal Advisor in Bangladesh, first give us a basic impression from your organizations, what you are doing here from your organization.
Yeah, as you know, the German government is one of the first governments to recognize Bangladesh after independence, and there has been a lot of support since independence, particularly also in the field of agriculture. We are working here with the Coastal Livelihoods Adaptation Project since 2009 in the area of coastal area rehabilitation, coastal protection, and also in the field of climate change adaptation of agriculture, building the resilience of vulnerable communities.
And which, what are the areas you were covering?
We are working in 3 districts in Borguna, Pothuakali, and Bola, right at the coast, where the first place where the cyclone hits.
Okay. Recently, the German foreign minister, he along with the French foreign minister visited Bangladesh to get first-hand experience about the impact of the climate change in coastal areas, but unfortunately due to inclement bad weather they couldn't visit. But we all know that the COP21 is coming up. So why you think that Bangladesh is a critically important place to visit and get first-hand experience or information about the consequences of the adverse impact of climate change?
In fact, Dr. Steinmeier, German foreign minister, together with his French colleague and his Bangladeshi colleague, were supposed to visit our project in Pothuakali.
GIZ funded.
But GIZ funded project activities, but they could not come due to the bad weather. So this is one of the signs. It was an unusual time for the bad weather, and also one of the signs.
But why they did put so much importance on, I mean, before the climate summit, why the German foreign minister got interested about seeing the impact of climate change in Bangladesh before the climate summit?
I mean, one of the reasons was to talk firsthand and get a firsthand impression about how the poor people, poor coastal communities, men and also women, are being affected by the impact of climate change.
Okay.
And although the minister could not come, but he received obviously from us information about what is going on in the coastal areas and how poor communities are affected by an increasing number of cyclones and the increasing impact of climate change.
But could you please give us some impression of how the coastal areas of Bangladesh are affected by the impact of climate change? In which ways?
I think there are many ways in which the coastal areas are affected. We know that there's an increase in frequency of cyclonic storms and storm surges like Sida and Ayla have already happened, and Mahashen in 2013, so we are expecting more. of those. It's also the increase in seawater level, which has already been 10 to 20 centimeters in different areas.
Yeah.
And also we found an increase in the salinity of the soil and of the water, which has, of course, an impact on agriculture. We also found that there is a difference in the rainfall patterns, which again has a very bad effect on the agriculture. And one interesting thing I can share with you, since we are talking with a lot of farmers, they tell us that earlier in Bangladesh you had 6 seasons, but now they're experiencing only 3. So the seasonality itself is changing.
Due to adverse
not only
impact
the
of
weather.
climate change.
Yes.
So
So climate change, I think there's no question whether it's happening or not,
Okay.
but in the
It's
coastal area
evidently,
it has reached already.
I mean, it has already seen
Yeah.
the adverse impact of climate change in
Yes.
the coastal areas
Yeah.
very badly and felt. But you are talking about the agriculture production, the worst affected area of the catastrophic consequence of climate change. But how to deal with the agricultural production and how to protect our agricultural production in the wake of the consequences of climate change?
Yeah, I think there are several options how we can do that. I mean, we've talked earlier about increase of salinity in water and groundwater, surface water, and also in the soil. This is one of the areas, and also the change in weather conditions, climatic conditions. Fortunately, in Bangladesh, a lot of research has been done by the Ministry of Agriculture and the Bangladesh Agricultural University and institutions like BARI, BIRI.
Okay.
They have done a lot of research, and they have developed some climate resilient seeds and other technologies which can be used. One of the technologies which we, or adaptation strategies which we promote is diversification of crops. As you know, in the coastal area, usually there's only one paddy harvest and nothing else in many areas. But other crops can grow very well, like maize, like lentils, like sunflower, surjamukhi, can grow very well and are also being promoted by the Bangladesh government. So GIZ, on behalf of the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, is supporting the Ministry of Agriculture of Bangladesh in the promotion of those new seeds, new technologies, diversification of crops, and also in the area of irrigation. This is one of the promising areas, because if we have water, you know, the Bangladesh soil is very fertile, so we can have 3 harvests.
Sure.
And if we diversify the crop, that will also be good for the soil, because if we have only monocropping through paddy, then the soil will not be in a good condition. But if we use different types of crops, that is also good for the soil health.
We're talking about your programs and how you're supporting Bangladesh government, especially Agriculture Ministry, on standing by the farmers and coastal people, the way they have been suffering or affecting due to the adverse impact of climate change. But you know, most importantly, the women folks are very vulnerable for the climatic changes. So how the women be more involved in climate change adaptation in the coastal areas, especially in agriculture?
Our special focus is on gender, and also on improvement of cooperation and communication of men and women in the area of climate change adaptation and also disaster risk reduction. We work with 9,500 family farms, and there we found that if the women can be involved more into the production, the productivity can also be raised.
Okay.
Moreover, this is an area, the coastal area, as you know, where they grow less vegetables. Mainly there's only one paddy crop, and we are promoting also kitchen gardening and also production of vegetables for consumption for the families to improve the nutrition, and also for as a cash crop with good results, because there's a high demand in the market.
Okay. So, I mean, apart from the women folk, who are the most affected people? I mean, did you identify the most affected people, and any special assistance or any special programs, GIZ or Generally, if I ask you that who are the other organizations who are coming up to support this vulnerable or affected people of the community
I mean,
in coastal region?
we are obviously focusing on the most vulnerable people, and those are the smallholder farmers, poor people in general. Amongst the women, the female-headed households are particularly affected, and you will be interested to know that a lot of men have migrated to the city because they lost their livelihoods. But some of the men are then not, sending money, but getting remarried in Dhaka and Chittagong, leaving the women and the children more vulnerable. So I would say women and children who are part of female-headed households, they are particularly vulnerable. They also often live in buildings which are not, I mean, in huts, you can't call it a building, which are not in good condition, and also outside the embankments. Part of the population lives outside the embankments. Anyhow, the embankments are affected by the last cyclones and are not in good condition, but those living outside, they are more vulnerable.
Are you constructing cyclone shelters there?
We are not constructing cyclone shelters. GIZ is implementing on behalf of the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development the technical cooperation. But the other arm of the German development cooperation is the KfW Development Bank, and they are constructing cyclone shelters in the coastal area, and GIZ has then activities along, in those cyclone shelters, like community level contingency planning, training on first aid and rescue. So we have complementary activities to this. But KfW Development Bank has been constructing many cyclone shelters in Bangladesh, also along with the German Red Cross in the 90s.
Earlier, I have already mentioned this, is the global warming has increased the frequency of extreme weather events, especially in Bangladesh. You know that generally international community is paying enough attention to Bangladesh to confront these challenges, and this is, that COP21 is coming up very soon in December.
Yeah, I think everybody is aware that Bangladesh is one or almost the most affected country by climate change, because you also have to see an increasing population, 160 million people who are very vulnerable. There are many, the European Union and many other countries are also committed to support Bangladesh in its struggle against climate change. But Bangladesh itself is also doing a lot of research, and also has taken many measures like the Bangladesh Climate Change Strategy and Action Plan, for example. I mean, Bangladesh, I would say, is one of the leaders in the discussion. We can see that Bangladesh is prominent in the discussion. What is my personal wish? I mean, I can't speak for Germany or for the whole donor community, but my wish is that we provide funds in addition to the already committed funds for other development, projects. Because,
from your part.
Because there are, many other issues which are not directly related to climate change, but which are also important. And if we don't look in a holistic way at development, if we look only at particular smaller aspects, I think that will hamper the development of the country. So I think if funds are committed in addition to the regular ODA funds, then that would be really good for Bangladesh.
Dr. Purnima, coastal region of Bangladesh has many activities differently. You have given some of impression of your activities in the coastal areas, but if I ask you about the the possible outcome or expectation of the coming climate summit, because that's very critically important for Bangladesh, and all we know that Bangladesh is definitely a very vulnerable country.
I would think, of course, you're right that Bangladesh is more, for Bangladesh, adaptation is the biggest challenge, but at the same time, mitigation is also something which can be done. And we have, for example, an energy project for sustainable energy development, where we are also supporting, responsible use of energy.
Did you find that Bangladesh put enough importance on for renewable energy or mitigation strategy?
Well, for example, in the coastal area, Bangladesh Bank has supported projects in the field of solar irrigation. I mean, you can see a lot of, or solar home systems, you can see a lot is happening in Bangladesh, but obviously, I mean, saving electricity is, or saving energy and use of clean energy is a challenge, not only for Bangladesh, but for many countries.
Dr. Poornima, we have discussed some serious issues, but let's talk something about your personal experience on working in Bangladesh for many years. Actually, I know that you arrived in Bangladesh in 1996 first for working for Red Cross. So beginning from 1996 to 2005, and then again you came Bangladesh for Christian Aid UK, and then you are now working for GIZ. So how do you find Bangladesh altogether?
I mean, I really like living here. আমার মোটামুটি এখন 11 বছর এখানে হয়ে গেছে। আমি এখানে অনেক খুশি আছি। I think what is incredible is the positive attitude and spirit I find in Bangladesh. I mean, there are so many positive things happening in the area of development in Bangladesh, you know, in rural development, disaster risk reduction, climate change adaptation. And I can see that there is a lot of commitment of people to, you know, develop the country. And that's why, I mean, I've worked in different countries, but it's a pleasure to be here because you can see there's a real spirit. And in the development sector, I would say Bangladesh is state of the art as compared with many other developing countries because many things are happening. Research is going on. It's just a matter of bridging things like linking up, for example, the communities with the government institutions or government services. So we see ourselves as a facilitator, you know, like this is my role here, not to change anything, but to bring people together so that with a concerted effort we can change the situation of poor people.
Concerted efforts is the missing point in Bangladesh.
Concerted effort is sometimes like we have many farmers who need, for example, irrigation schemes. On the other side, the government has schemes and we are trying to link them up. And then when we do that, it works very well. Or linking up the local government with other schemes for, you know, road development or things like that. I think that's very important that civil society, different government institutions and the poor communities and the local governments are being linked up and work together. And it's very possible. I mean, I can show you many examples in our field area where it actually works. One just has to bring people together. So we see ourselves as a facilitator and as a bridge between people. But so many good things are already happening on which we can build.
Yes, indeed. But, you know, we are also trying to realizing the goals set in SDGs. The fresh commitment has already been made. And all of we know that Bangladesh has made very remarkable progress in achieving MDGs also. And we have already become low and middle income country. We are looking at becoming a middle income country, MIC, by 2021. So do you think under this situation, the international, the resource are coming up from the international community, development partners, does it look that it's shrinking gradually and we have to cope with the situation for the challenges we are confronting right now?
I think, I mean, it's not obviously only the responsibility of the development partners, but as we discussed, it needs to be a concerted effort. And I think the private sector can also play an important role in that. And also the management, like how do we utilize funds? How can we achieve maximum impact? How can we reach most people? And how can we take along those who are most poor and most vulnerable? Because that's sometimes not happening. I mean, if you look at even if income rises, but we have to look at the poorest of the poor.
Inequality also rising.
Yes, so we have to, I mean, take those people along, I would say. I'm not saying inequality is rising, but we have to take them along and find ways how we can productively involve poor people, also young people, into the process so that, you know, everybody can play a part and a role in that.
So after ending, I mean, we're expecting that you will be some more years in Bangladesh working, but
Inshallah.
Inshallah. But if we ask you that what the sweetest or the memories you will be taking back home from Bangladesh, what will be that?
I think it's working with the poor people in the coastal area. And the personal interaction with them, মানে আমিও একটু বাংলা বলতে পারি, তো আমি ওদের সাথে অনেক কথা বলতেছি, আলোচনা করতেছি. So, for example, I can tell you one example. I talked to a lady who participated in one of our Cash for Work programs.
Okay.
And she received her first cash, the first money she's ever earned in her life. So that was really touching, a Hindu lady. And I asked her, what did you do with that money? And she said that, Ami mishti kinesi. She bought sweets for her father-in-law and her mother-in-law. And I think that was really very touching for me, you know. And this shows also the spirit of Bangladeshi women, that when they earn money, they spend the money for the family, for the well-being of the family, for the children, for their education. This I find really inspiring, and that's the reason why I love working here, because I can see that by working with one woman, or with one person, you can bring so much change about for the whole family and the whole community.
Thank you so much, Dr. Purnima Chattopadhyay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Dear viewers, that's all our conversation with Dr. Purnima Doris Chattopadhyay Dotto, Principal Advisor of GIZ and CLAP. We thank you indeed for watching this show, and we invite you to watch our next episode. Till then, goodbye.